I don't know how you beat me. You and I did the best job. We did the tool.
Also, before we get rolling, one thing that was made to my attention, I love history. We have some, of course, history all over here, but the youngest Greco-Roman Olympian from the United States is here, Jake Deichler, so I want to recognize him. And before we get started, I would like to have Leroy Smith, the Executive Director of the National Wrestling Hall of Fame, say a few words.
This is Kyle's way of having me fill in for John Bardis, so. But it's a pleasure to be here. We have a lot going on at the National Wrestling Hall of Fame, but I can tell you this event is a real pleasure to come to. It's important to the National Wrestling Hall of Fame and to the United States of America to recognize our great heritage in the great sport of Greco-Roman wrestling. There's not many of us in this room who've, or from my era and before, that did not try and wrestle Greco-Roman, and it helped us tremendously. Some of us didn't compete in Greco-Roman, but we all trained in Greco-Roman. So a lot of respect from me, for sure, and I know I speak for many others who may have never competed, but certainly became better wrestlers because of Greco-Roman. Some of the things we've got going on right now, we've been very busy in that we decided to kick off a few initiatives to make the Hall of Fame more relevant in the wrestling community, to try to help the sport. So we, a few years back, kicked off a campaign called Beyond the Walls, reaching tomorrow's wrestlers today, the importance of that. And we're renovating our Hall of Fame in Stillwater, and our museum in Waterloo, the Dan Gable Museum, and we're going to put a mobile museum out on the road. And hopefully we'll, in the near future, have it up here in Minneapolis to showcase some of the great Greco-Roman heritage we have in wrestling, as well as around the country. So we're rolling along last year and kicking into stride, and all of a sudden we get blindsided by this major priority we have to drop everything for, which is getting kicked out of the Olympics. We got the news in February, and that blindsided us and took a lot of our attention. But you know, wrestling has a way of finding a way to win, just much like champions do on a wrestling mat. When things don't go their way, they find a way to win. And thanks to the great leadership we had, many of whom were involved in that effort that are in this room, Dan Gable and was on the committee to preserve Olympic wrestling, and I don't know, but I know there were several of you people who were, obviously everybody was touched by that movement. I can't tell you, you know, how many people came up to you that knew you were wrestlers and said, what are they thinking? What are they doing? You know, not having wrestling in the Olympics is just, it isn't the Olympics without it. So it was really a global effort, and it really shocked us to see all the sympathy and the interest in wrestling that really is out there. We just know that we have to play a big role in trying to tell our story. And that's why we're here tonight. When you hear these stories, it's incredible. And there's no way that they can't be inspiring to future generations, and why we can't be more relevant when you hear these stories. And that's our job. If there's any one major role that we play in the sport, is to tell these stories, to get their history, their bios, and preserve them for future generations and to inspire people. So that's what we're here for, to recognize, and I thank Alan for having the vision to do that for Greco-Roman, and because it is a great art. It led the way for wrestling in the Olympics. And So it's an honor to be here. It's an honor to hear your stories, and it will be an honor to tell them with new tools and new technology in the future, because that's how we're going to reach people. As you well know, it's very costly to be in the business of telling a good story today and reaching future generations. You've got to do it with interactive technology, state-of-the-art technology, and that's where we're heading. So great to be here with you, and look forward to congratulating all the honorees tonight. Thank you.